Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. When I had planned the Google My Maps series, I visualized it in three parts. I had left out explaining in detail some My Map features, thinking that those features might be of limited interest. After completing the three-part series, however, I felt that knowing about these features might be helpful for people looking to visualize their data as simple thematic maps. So this video, that is part 4 in the Google My Maps series, demonstrates how we can use Google My Maps to create simple thematic maps. If you have missed the first three parts, I have provided a link in the description below, and I invite you to view those videos. So without further ado, let's start. A thematic map shows distribution of data or a data variable about a single topic or subject on a map. So what could this single topic be? It could be anything. It could be unemployment rate, it could be carbon dioxide emissions, it could be voting patterns in elections, it could be population distributions. So if we had data about a particular single topic, and if we can put it on a map, we have a thematic map. In this video, I will show you how we can use Google My Maps to create bubble maps and Choropleth maps. So this is an example of a bubble map. And what we are seeing here is the representation of some data variable, like, say, for example, CO2 emissions for every country. And we are seeing one circle or one bubble per country. Larger the circle or bubble, higher is the value. So just one look at this map, and you will be able to see how each country is faring with respect to the data variable that we are trying to represent. This is an example of a Choropleth map. I'm sure you would have seen such kind of maps very routinely. Choropleth maps show the distribution of a data variable across regions, and regions that are similarly colored are in the same data range. So say, for example, in this map, if we are representing unemployment rates, you can see that these three regions or states are in the same range, that is between 1.6 and 2.5, and these three regions are in the same range, that is between 3.7 to 4.1, and these regions and this region are in the same range, that is between 4.4 to 6. So this is what a Choropleth map looks like. So let's see how we can create bubble maps and Choropleth maps in Google My Maps. So let's start by creating a bubble map. We have a map and we need data to display on this map. So let's head to the Google Public Data Explorer. You can type Public Data Explorer in Google, and the first result will be Google Public Data Explorer. The Google Public Data Explorer uses data from a variety of international organizations. This data is in public domain and helps you visualize that data. You can read up a little more about Google Public Data Explorer from its Wikipedia page. So we are going to head to the Google Public Data Explorer, and within Google Public Data Explorer, directly to the World Development Indicators page for this example. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. So we are inside the Google Public Data Explorer, and under the World Development Indicators section, you will see a lot of subsections. I'm going to expand the environment subsection and just scroll down, and for this example, pick up CO2 emissions per capita. So when we click on this, you will see that this data is visualized as a graph. So just go ahead and click on this question mark button, and this will reveal a small pop-up, and you can click on more info, and this is going to take you to the source of this data. So let's just click on this, and this brings us to the source of this data, and the source of this data is the World Bank, and this is the CO2 emissions metric tons per capita. And on this page, you will see that we have a link to download this data as a CSV file. We can also download it as an Excel file. I'm going to choose CSV and click on this. So this data has been downloaded, and you can see that it has been downloaded as a zip file. So just unzip this folder, and this is what you're going to see inside that particular folder. There are two metadata files, but we are interested in the first file. So let's just open this and see what this data basically looks like. So this is the file. And as you can see, it has a large number of columns, many of which don't have any data. So it's starting from 1960, and then it goes all the way up to 2022. Of course, 21 and 22 don't have any data, like columns before 1989. You will also notice that it has a title here. So what we need to do is we need to get rid of all these rows and just simply go ahead and delete it and just confine ourselves to the data part. We also don't need any of these columns. And for this example, actually, I want to get rid of all the columns except 2020. So I made a copy of that file and then deleted all those columns. So I've retained just 3 columns out of that file for this example: the name of the country, the code for that country, and the CO2 emissions per capita in metric tons for the year 2020 for each country. You will also notice that many of the rows that we have here are actually not countries. So you can either look for them and delete them, or otherwise, if you leave them, there's absolutely no problem. So whenever you download public data, you have to work a little bit with that data, trying to sort out what you need and removing any extra bits or extra lines and just simply retaining the core data table. In this particular case, the first row is the header row, and then it is followed by data rows. So let's head back to Google My Maps and then try to import this layer inside. So I'm going to come here and click on Import, and then click on Browse. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this and click on Open. And before it imports, it wants to know which column Google My Maps can use to place this data on the map. So I'm going to click on country name. We have just 3 columns. Google My Maps does not understand country codes, so we will have to choose country name and then go ahead and click on continue. And then it is asking us to choose a column that it will use as a title column. So I'm going to come here and choose country name once again and finish. So this data has been imported. So if you click on any marker, you will see the information for that marker, the 2020 CO2 emissions for Finland, for example. You will also notice that there is a small message for us. It says 45 rows could not be shown on the map. I'm going to click on this and it opens the data table. And let's just go to the top of the data table. So you will see that these are all the rows in that table that could not be imported. So this was part of the original data. So we can just let them be in the table, or you can right click and delete them. You can also delete them before importing from inside Excel or Calc. The only thing that we need to do here is to just scan this data and see if there is any country that could not be included. So as we scroll down, we can see that Micronesia could not be imported, and that's a country. And as we come down, you can see that Iceland could not be imported. So what we can do is we can look for the official name of these countries. So just type in official name of Iceland. So you will see that it's called as Republic of Iceland. So let's try with that. So I'm just going to copy this, come back here, and then just replace this with Republic of Iceland and see if this is accepted. So yes, it is accepted and it has placed a marker there. Likewise, we can look for the official name for Micronesia. So the official name for Micronesia is Federated States of Micronesia. So let's try with that. So I've double clicked in this cell and pasted Federated States of Micronesia and enter. And yes, it has been accepted. And that's not showing as an error anymore. And I've successfully imported my data. So whenever you are dealing with public data, you need to clean it up a little bit before you can import it properly. And you can see here that on the Public Data Explorer and also on the World Bank data page, you have tons of data sets that you can explore in this manner and map them using Google My Maps. So we are going to dismiss this now. And we have all the data that we need displayed on the map. Let's just change this to a bubble map. So to do that, just click on this uniform style icon, and we are going to style it using the 2020 column. So style by data column, and we are going to use the 2020 column. So I'm going to click on this. So I'm going to come here and click on ranges, and I can choose 4 or 5 ranges. So let's just stick with 4 for this example. So for each of these ranges, we are just going to change the icon and click on this bucket and go to more icons. And this time around, instead of choosing an icon from this set, we are going to choose a custom icon. So we will just click on this custom icon button and then just go ahead and click on browse. So what I have here is a set of bubbles in different colors that I have created, and these bubbles are in different sizes. I will leave a link in the description below. You can just simply download this set and use it to follow along in this tutorial. So let me just come down here and choose the red bubble set. So let me just pick up the red bubble. And because this is the smallest, I'm going to choose this icon here. And for the other categories, I'm going to come back and choose these circles or bubbles. So I will just click on open and then go ahead and click on OK. So for my first range, as you can see, the icon is now a small bubble. I'm going to come here and repeat the same for my other 3 categories. Click on this, choose more icons, custom icon, browse, and then pick up the next bubble and then click open. So this is a slightly larger bubble. Click on OK. So the next range of countries now designated with a slightly larger bubble. So let's go ahead and change the icon for the third range. So click on this, more icons, custom icon, browse, and choose the next bigger bubble. So I'm going to click on this and click on open and OK. So the third range of countries now represented by a bigger bubble. And we are going to do the same for the last one. Just come here, click on more icons, custom icon, browse. And we are going to now choose the largest red bubble in this set and open and OK. So as you can see, we have created a thematic map where every data point, that is the data for every country, is represented by a circle or a bubble. And the larger the circle, the more is the value. So as you can see, countries which have the bigger circles are having a higher CO2 emission per capita. So this is how you can create a bubble map. Now, just one little word of caution here. Many times when you download public data sets, you might find that instead of leaving cells blank where data is not available, some agencies prefer to write not available. Sometimes you might find that non-availability of data is represented with 2 dots or 3 dots. So whenever this happens in a numerical column, and when you import such data inside Google My Maps, you will find that this option of ranges is not available because the numerical data column has been actually imported as text. So in such cases, what you can do is you can just open the data table and then duplicate this row, and you're currently seeing number, but if that was imported as a text, it would be shown as text, and you can just simply come here and choose the duplicated column type as number, and Google My Maps will then create a duplicate column but recognize the column as numbers, and then you can just come here and delete the original column that was imported as text. So this is how you can create bubble maps and display data to create a thematic map. Let's now look at how we can create Choropleth maps. To create Choropleth maps, it might be useful to have a quick look at 3 powerful operations that Google My Maps permits on data tables. These operations include the ability to add items to an existing table, bulk update information in an existing table, and merge data columns into existing tables. These options are available by clicking on these 3 dots and then choosing Re-import and Merge option from here. To demonstrate these operations, I am using a very curtailed version of the World Bank carbon dioxide emissions data that we used in the bubble map example earlier. As you can see, I have shortened that table to include only 18 countries such that we can understand how these table operations work without being overpowered by a large data set. So as you can see, the first row is the headings row, and then we have data for 18 countries, the name of the country code, and the carbon dioxide emissions per capita in 2020. Exactly the same table, just reduced to only 18 countries. Now, for all these attribute operations that I'm about to show you, I found that they work best if you move all these files, the Excel or the CSV files, to the Google Drive. So what I have done is I have named this file as CO2 emissions A. I have a few other files that I will be using and explaining in a short while. So what I have done is I have moved all these files to a folder inside my Google Drive, as you can see here, CO2 emissions A, and I have some other files as well. So I found that the attribute operations that I'm just about to demonstrate to you work best if you move these files to the Google Drive and convert the Excel files or the CSV files that you have copied onto your Google Drive into Google Sheet versions. So all you need to do is to just simply copy all these files, just grab hold of the folder, dump them on your Google Drive, and then just simply go ahead and open them once in Google Sheets. And the moment you open them, they will be saved as Google Sheet versions, and then you can delete the original Excel or CSV files. So that is exactly what I have done here. To help you follow along, I have included these files in the tutorial download, the link for which I have shared in the description below. So as you can see, this is the exact same data, and these are those 18 countries. So let's now go back to our map. I'm going to close this and let's import that layer. So click on import, and instead of choosing browse and uploading this from my local computer, although you can try this as well, but I found that it works best if you have these files on your Google Drive. So just come here and we are going to import CO2 emissions A, which has carbon dioxide emissions data per capita for 18 countries, as I showed before. So let's just click on this and click on insert. Now, before it completes the import process, it wants to know the name of the column that it is going to use for placing all these countries on the map. So I'm going to click on country name, then click continue. And it wants you to identify a field that it will use as title for the markers that we will be creating. So once again, I'm going to choose country name and click on finish. So as before, this data is being imported. And now you see all this data being represented on the map, just like we have done before. Let's open the table and click on Open Data Table. So you will see that all these 18 countries have been successfully imported inside, and there were absolutely no errors during the import process. Now, one question is, can we add more countries to this map or this table? That is, can we add more rows? So the short answer is yes. Let's get rid of this and head back to our Google Drive. So you will see here, I have created another file, CO2 emissions B, and one more file, CO2 emissions C. So let's open CO2 emissions B. So what you see in the CO2 emissions B file is that I have included 3 countries which were not in the original list: Mexico, New Zealand, Nigeria. So this is the exact same data, but for 3 countries that were not in the original list that we had imported. And you will see that there are no markers for New Zealand, Mexico, and Nigeria. So the question is, can we add those countries to this table? And the short answer is yes. All you have to do is to just close this, click on these 3 dots, come to re-import and choose add more items. So just click on this and then click on your Google Drive. You're taken back again to your folder. And this time around, I'm going to click on this CO2 emissions B file and click on insert. So as you can see, the count for countries has gone up from 18 to 21. And you can see that we are now having markers on the same map for New Zealand, and for Mexico, and also for Nigeria. So this is Nigeria, this is Mexico, and this is New Zealand. So we have successfully added, using the add item option here, data to an existing table. We had 18 countries before, and now we are having 19, 20, and 21 countries. Can we add more? Absolutely, yes. So let's repeat this example with one more file. And if you open up CO2 emissions C file, you will see I have added 3 more countries which are not in the list currently: China, Thailand, and Venezuela. So let's head back to the map. You will see there's nothing for China, there's nothing for Thailand, and there's nothing for Venezuela. So there are currently 21 countries, and we are going to adopt the exact same procedure. Just click on these 3 dots, re-import and merge, and come here and choose add more items, and then head back to your folder and choose CO2 emissions C file and insert. So you will see now that the country count has gone up to 24, and you have a marker for China, you have a marker for Venezuela, and you also have a marker for Thailand. So by clicking on these 3 dots and choosing re-import and merge option, you can add more rows to an existing table by choosing the add more items option. Now, one question that we can ask is, can we make changes to entries in this table or update entries in this particular table? Let's say, for example, we actually wanted to enter 10.77 for Australia rather than 14.77 as the case is in the current table. And for Canada, the correct value was 9.59 rather than 13.59. So can we make these changes? Well, absolutely yes. One direct way is, if you are just wanting to correct 1 or 2 entries, you can always double click and type the correction directly inside the table. But if you wanted to correct a lot of data, you can do that quite easily. So I just want you to remember that the current value for Australia in our table is 14.77, and for Canada it is 13.59. And we want to update this without typing. We will head back to our Google Drive, and there are 2 ways in which you can do it. One way is you can create a separate file. So for example, if I could create a file called as corrections, and in this file, I have just copied all that data and made the corrections in the values. So I have the name of the country, the code for the country, and I have the corrected value. So instead of 14, I have now typed in 10, and instead of 13 for Canada, I have typed in the correct value 9. Or otherwise, you can make a copy of this original file, CO2 emissions A, and just simply go ahead and make the corrections at the required places. So both of these are going to work. They will have the exact same results. So to make those corrections, I'm going to close this and come here and re-import and merge. And this time around, I'm going to choose merge matching items. So I'm going to click on this and then click on my corrections file and insert. So it's asking me the name of a common column in both these tables, my corrections table and the table that is currently attached to this map. So we can use country name for both or country code for both. They are essentially the same tables having the exact same data. So one column has to be common. Even if the name of that column is not the same, the content of the column has to be the same. So in this case, we'll go ahead with country name on both sides and then just go ahead and click on finish. So you will notice that we still retain all 24 items. So we can go ahead and open the table. And you will now see that the value for Australia is 10. It used to be 14. And the value for Canada is 9. It used to be 13. And the values for all other entries are exactly the same as before. So if we wanted to make a large number of corrections to a file, to an existing column, we can do this by creating a corrections file or making a copy of the original file and making those corrections. and then just simply choosing merge matching items and pointing to a column that is common in both the files, and then the data will get updated in the table. I'm going to open this table and revert this back to our original values. So in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and type these values. So changing this back to 14 and changing this back to 13. So if there were just a few corrections, you can type them directly as I have done here. Otherwise, if there were lots of corrections, you can create a corrections file, have the exact same data, change the values, and then just come here and use the re-import and merge matching items option. And finally, the third question is, can we add more columns? We can add more rows, we can update data, but can we add more columns? So the short answer is yes. So to demonstrate this example, I have created a file, and this I'm calling CC CO2 emissions say 2023. Let's say at some time in the future, we get to have 2023 data as well. Currently, we have 2020 data. And hypothetically speaking, we have also added another column that is fossil fuel reduction in percentage. So this is showing you that data for every country. This is just hypothetical data. And in this table, we don't have the name of the country. We are just simply using country code because we know that the other table has a column called as country code. So we can do away with the name. We just want to add these two columns. And of course, you can retain the country name column as well. I'm just doing this for demonstration. So we want to add these two columns to the existing data table, which is currently showing data for 2020. We want to add those two columns, and we can do that. We can come here and re-import and choose merge matching items. And I'm going to come here and pick up my file. This is the CCCO2 file. Just click on it and click on insert. So it'll ask you for the name of the matching column. So in this case, because the file that is having the columns that we want to add does not have a country name column, we are going to choose country code as the common column in both the files, and then just go ahead and click on finish. So as you can see, we are still retaining all 24 items, and we can come here and open the data table, and you will see that those columns have now been added to the existing table. So we have now two new columns that we have added to the table of the existing map. So we can add new columns using this re-import and merge matching items option. And of course, if you wanted to replace all the items, you can come to re-import. You can do this by replacing all items or maybe creating the layer afresh. And you can use this to update matching items. But in this option, you will remember that we are having 24 items, which we have added in 3 steps. First with the A file, then the B and the C files. And if you were to make corrections in the A file and use re-import and update matching items, it will update the corrections, but it will then go ahead and reduce this count back to 18. So this is how you can add more rows, add more columns, or update existing columns in the table of an existing map. Now this is going to be useful for creating Choropleth maps. And let's now go ahead and see how we can create Choropleth maps in Google My Maps. So for the Choropleth map, let's start a new map. Now just for demonstration purposes, let's try to reproduce this map. This is a Choropleth map, and this is showing you the unemployment rate for September 2023 for each state in the USA. So let's try to recreate this Choropleth map inside Google My Maps. So this page is on the Bureau of Labor Statistics site, and I've included this link in the description below, so you can directly reach this link. So to create this kind of a map, we need two things. One is we need a KML file that has the boundary for each of these states. And the second thing is that we need the unemployment rate data. Let's try to get the KML file. And the KML file is available on the United States Census Bureau page, cartographic boundary files in the KML format, which is accepted quite easily by Google My Maps. So I have provided a link to this page also in the description box, so you can directly reach this page. Once you reach this page, you can just scroll down, and there are quite a few boundaries that are available here. But the boundary that we are interested in for this example is the state boundary right here. So there are different versions of this same boundary. Some are more detailed as compared to other. Now, Google My Maps cannot import a KML file that is greater than 5 MB in size. So here we have 2 or 3 options. And as you can see, the zipped version of 2 of these options is less than 1 MB. Because we are using this for a chart and not for mapping, so we can choose the smallest version. In this particular case, because both these versions are less than 1 MB, I might as well download the 5M zip version of US state boundaries. You can choose any of these. So just click on this option and download this file and unzip it. So when you unzip this file, this is what you're going to see inside your folder. And one of these files is the KML file, as you can see here. So we already have now the boundaries of states of the United States of America. And let's now go ahead and try to find unemployment rate data. So now that we have a KML file, let's head back to the chart and try to get the unemployment rate data for September 2023. So for this example, I'm just going to click on Show Table and then click on Control A to select everything, and then choose Control C to copy. Once you've copied all this data, just open a blank Excel workbook or a Calc or Google Sheet workbook and just go ahead and press Control V to paste, or otherwise you can choose this option here and choose Match Destination Formatting. So all this data is going to arrive here. It has lots of unnecessary rows. So we'll just select them and right click and delete, such that we are left only with the data table. And likewise at the bottom of the table, anything extra, these rows will get deleted. So we are now just left with the data table, which we can save. Now this is just for this example. These data sets are also available for download directly. So you can search for direct download options and you can download it as an Excel or a CSV file. So once we have this table, we have both the ingredients for creating a Choropleth map. We have the KML file and we also have the table for unemployment rate. So we can now go back to our Google Maps and first import the KML layer. So I'm going to click on this and then I'm going to upload it from my computer. So I'm going to choose my downloaded KML file for various states in the USA and click on Open. So this file is now imported and it's being shown in a light color, but it's very much there when you click on it. It'll show you all details. So we now have boundaries for all US states, as you can see here. Let's open the data table. So just click on these 3 dots, open the data table. So you will see that the KML file comes with quite a few number of columns. So we can ignore these columns, let them be. And all we need to do is to add a few columns, that is the unemployment rate columns in front of each of these states. We can either delete all these columns by clicking on delete column, or otherwise just simply go ahead and attach the unemployment data at the end of this particular table. So I'm going to do exactly that. So I will come here and click on re-import and merge as we had seen in the last section. And I'm going to come here and merge matching items because I want to add columns. So let's just browse. And this is the file that I had saved, the unemployment rate for September 2023. I'm going to click on this and click on open. So it is asking me for a common field. So in the data table, the name of the state is mentioned as name. And in the Excel sheet that we are trying to attach, the name of the state is in the state column. So these are 2 columns in 2 different tables, but they are having the exact same contents. and we can just come here and click on finish. So as you can see, the data has been added, and let's go and open the table, and let's go to the end of this table. So you can see that data for the employment rate for September 23 has been added to the end of this table. And now what we can do is we can just click on individual styles and then just go ahead and style this by column. So we can come here and choose September 23 rate, and then pick up ranges, and then just go ahead and choose a color RAM, and we are done. All we need to do is to just come here to specific ranges, just move this slider a little bit to fill this with colors. So we'll have to repeat this for each one of these. Just move this a little bit so you can see solid colors, and then come here and just move this back again. So we are now seeing solid colors. So we have successfully recreated this map, and what we can also do now is to add another layer and just go ahead and import this file once again. So we are getting the KML file once again, and this is just for the boundaries. If we wanted to have the boundaries visible, do uniform styling, and then we can just choose black color, and we can just play around with the border width and the color to get an appropriate border width size. So we have now been able to successfully recreate this Choropleth map. The only thing that we don't have control on while creating this Choropleth map is that we cannot decide the manner in which these classes can be created. For example, Jenks or other algorithms for creating these classes, these are automatically done by Google Maps. So using this technique, you can create Choropleth maps, and then you can preview them and share them with users. You can also repeat this one more time and style another layer with September 22 data, and then just keep switching these on and off to see how rates have varied between September 23 and September 22. I hope you found the information presented in this tutorial useful, and I hope that this can get you started in creating bubble maps and Choropleth maps in Google My Maps. Of course, there are many other tools using which you can create such kind of maps, but then I just wanted to demonstrate that we can create such kind of simple thematic maps in Google My Maps. So thanks a lot for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.